B-Bad and Brandon.
What's going on, team? Brandon here. And now before this episode kicks off, it's probably one of my favorite episodes. Dean, McKillop and Lizzy Rawdah, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Owners and operators of Flex Success. They are a company teaching some really good habits to people around nutrition, as well as getting people ready for the bodybuilding stage. And probably, in my opinion, one of the best in the business. I've been privileged enough to work with Dean at Nutrition Warehouse and to see his progression to a business structure that I really respect and really believe is at the top of their game. It's awesome to see. One thing I want to make mention of during the podcast in this episode, Lizzy refers to apathy when talking in a client situation, where she really means ambivalence. And I did have to Google how to pronounce that word. So if I did get it wrong, apologies. But just be aware of that. When she does say apathy, she does mean ambivalence. Please get on socials, guys. Share this episode. It is an absolute hoot. Leave us a review and let us know what you think. Thanks, team.
I'm just have no sense of shame at all. So Dean bought this shirt and I was like, let's be matching. He's like, no, let's not be matching. But he couldn't stop buying it. So one day when he's wearing it, I'm just going to like sneak it into my bag. And when we arrive wherever we are, I'm just going to whip it on and be like, motherfucker.
But I wore it. So the likelihood of me wearing it anywhere else other than a festival is zero.
Actually, I intend on putting a Flex t-shirt on.
Yes.
I thought I'd say hi before I scoot off and change my top. And get right now.
That looks way better.
I like the donuts.
Yeah, the donuts rock.
Should I keep it?
100%.
Keep it.
I don't care what you think. All right. Well, look, this is a democracy, so I'll keep the donut shirt, but I'm still going to go get a Ribena. I'll just be one moment.
Excellent choice.
How are you, Dean?
Man, I'm well, yourself?
Yeah, good, bro. Just the usual busy.
Yeah.
How's Flex going?
Terrible. No, it's good. Most people always like, yeah, man, we're killing it. No, it's good. Can't complain. I've got into the habit of saying I can't complain because I've started watching a lot of this YouTube freestyle rapper called Harry Mack. Have you heard of him?
No, I've never heard of him.
Oh, don't, because you'll go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, right.
So he used to walk around Las Vegas Boulevard occasionally and just walk up to people like, can you give me 3 words? I'll rap about it. And he's like this tall, like silver foxy sort of, like salt and pepper haircut white dude who's skinny. And everyone's like, yeah, sure, bro. Go for it. Let's see how this goes. And he's fucking boss.
What's his name?
Harry Mack. And then the COVID hit, right? So he couldn't do that anymore. And he started going on this chat thing called Omegle, which is creepy as fuck. Like you basically just sign in and you get put in front of anyone in the world, anywhere. You can like select topics and stuff. You can imagine there's like a lot of dicks and shit. And he just started rapping to randoms on there too. Like, hey, can I do this for you? And now he does like a YouTube live like once a day. He's got 750K followers. He went from like 300K followers in November to 750K followers now.
Wow. Shit.
And he is legit that good, man. And you have no idea. So, but he always says whenever someone asks him how they are, he goes, can't complain. And now I keep saying it.
Now you're doing it.
That's amazing. Sorry?
What about you guys? How are you?
Yeah, good, man. Like, I'm just like sitting back. I've just hired a new coach and looking to put on another one so I can take a bit of a step back and focus on other areas. And yeah, it's been pretty cruisy so far. It's weird having all the competitions back up and running. So
yeah, true. You got one in 7 weeks, is it? 6 weeks?
6 weeks here at Valhalla, and then I compete the following weekend in Melbourne, and then you've got Capo States in
11 weeks.
11 weeks.
Yeah, plus all the little stuff in between.
Yeah, there's heaps of. I'm not used to having comps on again. Like
I got like 2 every 4 weeks.
Are there lots of competitors now? Like everyone's busting to get on the platform?
Yeah, I think because like obviously, Pro Raw is not happening and the Arnold aren't happening. So a lot of those guys who compete at Pro Raw have come back to GPC. Like the States have sold out and they sold out pretty much straight away, which is the first time that's happened in I'm pretty sure since the Pro Raw went to the Arnolds.
Yeah.
It's crazy because they always used to be 3 days. Now it's just 2 days, but they're completely sold out.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, well, I know Will's obviously doing it.
Yeah.
He's doing states, eh?
Yeah, Will's doing states.
Oh.
And I think a lot of his crew are doing states as well.
That's cool.
Yeah, most of it, my crew at October still. So for comps, like we've had the first season of comps in bodybuilding, but
the beauty pageant competitors.
yeah, but it's super light compared to normal. Like Queensland had 75 competitors, they normally have 175.
Oh,
Holy shit!
So it's a great time to come first if you want to.
Well, listen, they're giving out pro cards this Saturday, so like there's going to be some people that get them that probably shouldn't. But
ooh,
yeah,
but you know, you got to show up to win, right?
You still got to be there, yeah.
How did COVID kind of like affect the whole bodybuilding world? Like I know little bits, obviously working with Matt Goyle, but
yeah,
how did it?
No different to probably you guys. Like there's normally Arnold, that's the biggest show of the year.
Yeah.
That obviously like they made like a makeshift competition last year.
I remember that, yeah.
And then October is usually the next season, and that got cancelled fully.
Oof.
But it didn't get cancelled till like I'm going to say like 8 weeks out.
So people were dieting into it, and then
so a lot of the people that are doing this show have actually been dieting for October, and then have hit the pause button, and then re-dieted for March.
Wow.
So they've gone hard.
Yeah. But like most of mine, when that happened, I just went, no one's competing in season A. I've got 2.
Yeah.
I'm like, everyone's doing season B because I'm not fucking doing that again. Like,
yeah. That's got to be rough on the body, eh? Doing something like that. And mentally.
Months, you know? Yeah. So it's definitely cost them a lot of numbers, but I think October will be outrageous.
Yeah, right. Well, it is October.
October's normally nationals, so it's normally the biggest show anyway, other than Arnold's. But now that Arnold's hasn't occurred, I think, like, man, I've got like a whole bunch that are doing that, and they've been doing like 50-week, essentially like preps, big off seasons into prep. So like everyone will be looking the best I've ever looked to because most people don't take enough time off.
So that'll be a hectic level of competitors at that competition.
Yeah.
Well, Dean will be.
I'm doing it too, so it's going to be.
I was just about to ask you because I see a few photos. You're back posing and you're getting back on stage.
Yeah, man. I've done like a proper 28 weeks deep now of like an off season.
Yeah, right.
So it's the first one I've actually ever done. Well, it's, you know, like when I say first one I've ever done, like focused intent to compete.
Yeah, right.
Or get as heavy as I possibly can, you know.
Wow.
What do you wait? What do you?
It's just as strict pretty much. So I like 114 and a half.
Oof.
Jesus.
And what would you get down to be on stage, Ray?
I'm going to guess I'll have to get inside out peeled. I'll be
95?
95 and then carb up to maybe like 97 or something.
Yeah.
But I really don't know. I've never been this heavy before.
Yep.
The last carb I did, I was 89 and I started at 100.
Yep.
Holy
so like only
shit.
lost 11.
Yep.
But there's got to be at least a couple of kilos of food weight in me.
Lots of lessons learned from his last 2 preps though, so I feel like this will be a smooth one.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed anyway.
As smooth as it can be when you're fucking starving.
I always joke about putting together a support group for partners of preppers.
Yeah,
that's a great idea.
It is literally something that's been thrown around in like our circle for so long as well. It's always more stress on the partners, I swear.
Because it's not my goal. I don't give a fuck like about stepping on stage. I'm not a competitive bodybuilder, but I still have to live the prep.
Yeah.
With him.
Yeah, for no reward.
For no reward, exactly.
Damn.
At least I'm not natty and get lip dick.
True.
Yeah, it could be a lot worse.
Or better and give me a break.
Yeah, that's true.
How sorry.
I listened to one of your podcasts recently to get the vibe of the podcast to see like, can I swear on this podcast because I have a potty mouth?
Yeah,
and the first one I listened to, they were vibrating butt plugs, and I was like, all right, we can make
yeah.
There's no rules here.
There's no rules. The only person that complains about the swearing is my mother. So, but bless her for still listening 100 episodes.
I was gonna say, why is she listening?
Yeah, I don't know why, but that was hilarious. We did not expect that.
I didn't see that coming.
No, mainly like I know Niall. Obviously, Niall. He's our audio. What's his title? Oh, he's an audio engineer by
No
1.0. He's an audio engineer, just a client of mine that when we started this, he's like, your audio sounds shit. Let me help you. I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Thank you.
I've known him for like ages. And I was like, oh yeah, like I knew he's a weird dog in that sense. But when he pulled that one out, I was like, this is a new level to the podcast. I never thought we'd go down.
Was he into the butt plugs or was his missus?
Yeah, no, so I think the story goes his missus bought him a vibrating butt plug as a joke because they were joking about it, and she actually bought it for him. And so like he ignored it for 2 weeks and then he was like, oh, I might give this a try. And he only thought about lubing it up when he tried to insert and realized that
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
he didn't sound like he hated it either.
No,
He had a good experience once he used the lube.
there's probably been more than one experience.
I'm sure by now there's probably been more than one experience.
Good for him.
Good for him for being open to talk about it. There's a bodybuilder that's on Fuad Abiyad's podcast, which is a shit talk podcast for half of them and then legit for half. And his name's Nick Walker. He's like 26. He's a mutant. And he's very open about the fact that he loves his butt getting played with. It's now his thing, like on the podcast. And then he went and got a shirt that says Arse Man.
Yes.
Yes, that is amazing. I
But
have
all the time, he's like, play with my butt, otherwise you're out.
wow, good on
His
him.
poor girlfriend.
I just, no, that's a straight no for me. Straight no. It's a no butt play zone over here.
That's fair. Like, especially, like, I just have a strict rule of no butt play with myself, purely because, like, I've had a bowel infection and my gut bacteria's never been the same. So it's like, it's just a dessert. It's like,
it's better for both people.
It's better for everyone if we just put that no fly zone straight
Exit
away.
only.
So there was plenty of reasons why I should have broken up with my ex, but I think one of the things that tipped me over the edge was he didn't verbally say it, but during BJs he would like insinuate that he wanted me to go down further and like lick the nether region. And I was so uncomfortable with it. I was like, this is escalating really fast. So it really
He just kept bridging.
yeah, it really pushed me to break up with him sooner rather than later.
He's just laying there, just bridging a little bit more hip extension. Maybe eventually he might fall in there.
Good times. I actually have so many butthole stories, but I'll stop.
No, that's fine. We will have
lots of
another episode just
butt
on
story.
buttholes, and I'll invite you, Lizzy.
With no.
I'd love to, and I've got lots of peeing stories, also embarrassing peeing stories. So maybe it could be like a butthole peeing
Yeah.
story.
I have a couple of good stories about that, and I have a real funny one. One of my clients got stuck in a public toilet, and she didn't like. There was no toilet paper in the fucking.
That's a problem.
Yeah, in a public toilet.
Oh.
So she's like, "Ooh," opened her wallet. All I've got is receipts or a $10 note. She used the receipts.
Of course.
Why didn't you just use her undies?
I would have gone the undies.
Oh,
I have
Maybe
done-
she was wearing.
what is it? This
undies
is like a
before.
G-string.
Yeah.
There's not much surface.
Only wipe with your pinky, because if you use another finger, it'll be too wide.
Did you do a number 1 or a number 2?
Number 2.
Yeah. Have you ever done a ghost poo before?
Yeah, she would have been hoping for the ghost.
What's a ghost poo? Because I have a different definition.
Some
Okay.
people call it a phantom poo too, I think.
So you do a number 2, and then there's just like nothing there. It's like nothing happened.
Oh yeah, they're the best.
The perfect cut. That's cool.
Yeah, right.
Perfect cut, yeah. I put up a poll once and said that if you do a ghost poo, do you wipe once or greater than 1 times? Like 1 time before you get up.
What do
You got to
do?
double
You
check.
obviously wipe once and there's nothing on there.
Uh-huh.
And
Do
then
you
you're
just
good to
go,
go.
good game, and then pull your pants up,
Yeah.
or do you check again?
No, you
You
don't
have to.
check.
You have to check
Why
again.
check?
What?
I check.
Why
for sure
check?
too.
No, you don't need to check.
Yeah, but
No, I'm with you.
Come at from a different angle. What if you missed it?
You missed it. That's it.
That was your butthole. What?
this is already my favorite episode. No, you have to check it.
No, you don't.
You have to.
Why?
You definitely have to double check.
Okay, if you and
I
me.
don't want children for many reasons, but one of the reasons I don't want children is I don't want to deal with their like poo nappies and stuff. And we have friends that have kids, and we sat down to dinner, and as soon as our friends' meals arrived, their little girl said, "I need to go wee, mum." I said, "Oh, if it's just a wee, I'll take you so your parents can eat."
Mm.
And then she ended up doing a poop, and I was like, "Oh, I'm not going to wipe her ass. Like, I don't know how to. Do I go like? Do I spread her knees when she's on the toilet and reach under?" Or do I like lift her up and like hold her against the wall with one arm while I wipe? Like, what's the situation here?
What did you go with? What did you use?
Actually, what happened was it was a ghost poo. So
All good.
first, it was
Oh,
good.
what a win.
What she did is before I was standing there with the toilet paper, like in my head, thinking of all these different scenarios. But before I could actually action anything, she ends up standing up and reaching for her undies. And I thought she was going to pull her undies up without wiping.
Uh-oh.
But she reached for her undies and just stood there with her ass in the air. I was like, oh, this is the protocol.
She just presented it.
Ah.
So
She's
now I
well
know.
trained.
Now I know.
That's
But I
it.
hope to never be in that situation again.
And as a female, I hope you wipe front to back, not back to front.
Yes, I did.
That's another very hot topic that is highly debated. Especially,
Really?
yeah, like do you go, because like, you know Luke Polly?
Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously big dude, double shoulder
Mobility,
reach,
not so great.
no mobility, double shoulder. He goes back to front. Yeah, so reach forward. I'm a classic back to fronter just purely because it's easier.
I like to mix it up.
You're never heard of a mixer.
You can do that.
I'll mix it times 2.
Yeah.
Really?
I'll mix it up. That's why I said you got to come at it from a different angle just to make sure.
It's more dangerous for me because I think if poo gets in your front bum.
Yeah, it's not. No one likes
Yeah, that's very
problems.
different. Yeah.
There's a classic Jim Jeffries bit on the front to back versus back to front for females.
You'll butcher it, don't you?
I'm not going to do it. No one can do.
Shall we
Jim
move
Jeffries.
on from poo?
Yeah.
Well, no. One more question. Then, since we're on, we have to after because on the Full Wide podcast too. Do you wipe sitting down or standing up?
Sitting down.
Obviously, who wipes standing up?
Fucking 50% of the dudes on that podcast slightly squat out of the toilet and then wipe standing up.
Why?
I have no idea.
A double check, maybe?
Have you guys YouTube after this Squatty Potty? Have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
YouTube that and you'll change your life. Also, just real quickly, I'm a classic user of like flushable wipes because you need them. That's my last point.
I just want to get a Japanese toilet and be done with it.
They are amazing. Have you guys been to Japan?
Yep, the best.
Yeah, you never feel cleaner. Except I remember I obviously couldn't read the fucking buttons properly, and then like I hit the vagina washing one, and my nutsack got belted. And I was like, "Fuck! Whoop, wrong one."
Did you press it a second time? That's the question.
Probably.
I was 17. I wasn't getting any. It was a lonely time. Thanks. Just let me relive that.
You held the button down.
Imagine if you're like, that's not quite right. The right angle. Maybe if I turn around and face the other direction, it might hit it right.
For those of you that are listening that haven't been to Japan, there's heaps of buttons with like sound effects and
it's like
I don't know. So I was at like a servo and I was just busting for a wee, and so I stopped in there, and I'm sure there's a more ladylike way to say busting for a wee, but that's all right.
Needed to take a piss.
Yeah, a slash. Needed to do a slash. And anyways, so I can't read the symbols on the thing either, so I'm just going off you
go off the pictures.
Yeah, going off the pictures, and there was like a flushing symbol, and I was like, well, that's the one to flush. So I pressed it, and I could hear the flushing noise, but nothing was being flushed. I was like, I'm going crazy. Someone spiked my yogurt, like this. But it turns out it was just a sound effect. I guess to like mask the megaphone of your butt, which is a toilet.
Yeah, but like they have music on there too. Like, why choose the flush sound?
Well, I was trying to flush the toilet.
Yeah, I know. But anyway.
That's amazing. This has been my favorite segment on the podcast, and I feel like we could just go forever.
Only going downhill from now.
It's like, this is where it gets to the real part. Now, we actually start off with a question for both of you.
Yes.
It's 21 words, and you have 21 words to describe who you are and what you do.
Okay.
Now, it's a bit harder.
42 words total.
Yeah, good math. 42 words total. I usually count it, but Zoom's a bit harder with sometimes of a lag, and I'm just going to put it out there. I'm not a good counter.
Okay.
So who wants to go first?
That's if you want.
No, go for it. So you just have to speak like a robot so we can count it.
Am I counting on my fingers as I do this?
That would be
that would be ideal. I will give you a hint of where I think you're at. So.
Oh, and we count noises too. So if you make a noise, we're going to count that.
Starting when?
Now.
Lizzy, co-director of Flex Success. Is Flex Success 2 words?
You just used a whole bunch. So like that's 10. That's 11. Sounds.
Dog mum.
14.
We're going to count the last.
Very interested in behavior change.
You got like one word left.
Poo.
Yes.
I really stuffed that one up. I should have written a script or something beforehand.
Oh no, that was too good. We love watching the anxiety that people get doing this. Oh, how red they go is hilarious.
You didn't even say coach.
I didn't know. I said coach and co-director of Flex
Did you? I thought you
No, you just said co-director.
Oh fuck! Right.
She pushes the buttons.
More than the average.
I'm glad you went first.
Yeah.
I really fucked that one up.
Well, maybe we'll give you another turn later. But
Right.
Dean,
Then you reckon you can beat that one, mate?
I won't beat it for laughs, but I'll probably beat it for efficiency.
and go.
Online coach specializing in bodybuilding contest preparation.
That's 7.
Do I have to use the rest?
No.
You don't have.
There's no more.
That's actually a
Not
really
man
good
full
question.
substance.
We've never been asked that.
I'm done in 7, bro. Oh,
Yeah.
full stop.
Bam!
In
Mic
all,
drop for extra.
in all 103 episodes, we've never been asked, do you need to use all 21? Well,
Don't let anyone
Has
else know
anyone
that.
ever used the word poo in their personal
You're
introduction?
the first poo.
you're,
Yeah.
Yeah, you're definitely the first
yeah,
poo.
that's definitely, and I'm pretty sure this is like the first segment of poo we've talked
First
about.
poo discussion, which is good.
How
Yeah.
did you not talk about poo with butt plug man? But then,
That actually was good. We could have gone into
To
that.
be honest, I think we were just shocked that it went there. But in the actual direction of the podcast we intended, tell us about Flex Success. What is Flex Success? When did it start?
that's a good
So
question.
it's
in
nothing
itself.
to do with poo.
No.
Non-poo related.
So I was working as a personal trainer for a long time, between the age of like 18 and 28, and Dean was working in sports supplements, coming from a strength and conditioning background.
Mhm.
And so both of us saw a huge gap in the industry of people relying on terrible information that either wasn't getting them the results or worse, was doing them harm.
Mhm.
And people, as a personal trainer, was obviously asking me for nutrition advice, which at the time was outside of my scope of practice. And Dean, working in sports supplements, asking him as well. And so we saw this gap in the market. We saw people being harmed, not getting anywhere. And we thought like, well, we can help. Let's get qualified. Let's start a side business. Because at the time I was studying at uni full time and working as a PT. So we just thought we would do this on the side. And it just kind of expanded to the point where we are now, where we've got some coaches working within Flex Success as well, and a big book of clients. And we continue to niche into the type of clients that we love to work with. So Dean does bodybuilding comp prep. I like to do what we call Gen Pop, general population, people who are just competing as an amateur, or just, up all the way up to stay-at-home mum.
Mhm. Yeah. When did we start? I think it was
2000,
like 7 years in, maybe.
6 years in.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah,
I
right.
don't really know.
Super cool.
You started, I think, was it when you're still at Nutrition Warehouse?
Yeah, we were in Sydney. So Liz and I were both in Sydney. Liz is from Sydney. I'm from Queensland originally. And yeah, I was still area manager for Nutrition Warehouse in New South Wales.
That's right. Yeah.
And then we were in a little 1-bedroom apartment in Balmain, and we had this tiny little nook on the way to the laundry where we had my computer, And then I remember kicking it off because a few people had asked me to coach them, and then before I knew it, I had 10 clients. I was like, fuck, I can't do, I was doing them on a Sunday morning. So I'd wake up at 5 a.m. on a Sunday so that I could crank them out so we could still have a weekend.
Yeah.
And then Liz started picking up clients, and then we brought on Alan Mao at that time because I was like, I can't handle all these people, and I just want this as a part-time side gig.
Yeah.
When we moved to Queensland, bought a house.
Yeah, I left my job as a PT, graduated uni. Dean left NW, so now we're in the business full time and a half.
And Liz was like, listen here, motherfucker, I'm doing all the work.
I worked for myself since the age of 18. So for me, taking a leap of faith with Flex Success wasn't that difficult for me. Whereas Dean had never worked for himself. So he was juggling NW, and I was drowning with all the work at Flex. So I was like, you need to leave your job and just focus on this with me. What is going on?
We're a classic yin and yang in that I'm a
he's very safe.
check things 65 times and then maybe one more time just in case, like the ghost poo. There's some relevance to the poo talk here. I'm a double checker. I ain't taking that risk. Liz takes the risk.
I check one.
So Liz jumps in head first and goes, fuck it, let's just see what happens. And I'm like, no, I need my safety net. So eventually when I jumped ship, it was the best thing. I think business boomed probably twofold, and my enjoyment for it, within 4 weeks. That's the moment that I took away the stress of NW and just focused on Flex. So.
Yeah, but one thing that we're really passionate about with Flex is continuing to raise the industry standard, because as you guys know, there's pretty much no barrier to entry. So especially now that everyone's moving online, so long as you've got hot half naked pics, everyone thinks that you know what you're talking about. Or at least people who can't critically assess what a good coach looks like. So we both put a lot of time and energy into raising the standard, not just for other coaches or what the coaching standard should be like, but what clients should expect of their coaches.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's been our mission from the beginning, you know?
Yeah. That's a really good point, because I mean, for you guys being around for so long, how many people have you seen that just stitch other clients up and just do horrible stuff?
Yeah, it's great for their marketing because they can turn flabby Joe into Shred Dog in 6, 8, 12 weeks, and they've got mad before and after pictures. But they haven't taught Flabby Joe how to maintain what they've achieved, and they build, you know, binge eating disorders, and they leave the client in the deep end and blame them when they sink. And we like to look at not just the before and after picture, but also like, what does that look like 2 years from now?
Yeah, I think like Luke Lehman from Muscle Nerds coined that, the after pic. You know, so like he was always like, cool before and after, but show me your after pic. That's what I'm interested in. And we were always very much aligned with that. And like, you know, in my side of the business in bodybuilding contest prep, a lot of the time we have a lot of prep coaches that are essentially just coaches because they're repeating what they were taught. And there's very few that come with the background physiology or biology or whatever you want, pharmacology for that matter too, where they understand the basic fundamentals that they can then create their own principles and apply different methods to different clients and whatnot. And unfortunately, that just moved into the general population space. And then we have a bunch of Gen Pop people doing fucking bodybuilding diets and expecting that to be a lifelong decision. So these are the frustrations that sort of created Flex, and we've just continued to push forward in that same direction so that we can have people create like permanent positive change and sustainable change.
Obviously not permanent, positive, or sustainable when we're talking about comp prep.
No.
But Dean puts a lot of energy into helping people out of the hole. So once they get off stage, it's not like, cool, you won your trophy, bye. There's a whole lot of support.
That's usually, let me take your picture, now bye.
I think this is an Eric Helms coined term, the recovery diet. A lot of people, you know, want to do a reverse diet, but that's when we're escalating calories without escalating body fat, which is not what we want to do after a comp prep. You need to put on body fat if you want to function. So we're recovering from the symptoms without totally blowing out, which is hard to avoid.
Is it hard to work with the client psyche on that? Because obviously, I mean, I don't have a lot of experience there, but I imagine they see themselves in the mirror on that comp day and they look fucking mint. Do you do a lot of help and support with that? Because they're only going to look like that for that one day, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Like Liz has definitely worked with a lot of people that have come from other coaches that are now like, you know, somewhat beaten up, and it's, you know, the damage has kind of been done, and we're trying to like
unfuck them.
Yeah, unfuck them is one term that we have used.
I like that.
And fix that approach. Whereas like, I think because we have built a lot of our coaching around education, like coexist education and results at the same time, that most clients that come out of the back end of a prep with myself or coaches we've had in the past at least understand that, like, remind yourself of the pain of what you're experiencing currently, because the joy will be so fleeting when you get on stage that you may forget. And then when you forget, all of a sudden shit's going to go south. So I'm quite adamant about reminding people that just remember what this feels like, and it's not sustainable. There is unfortunately a lot of like body issues, because there are also a lot of people on social media that
body image issues
that use last year's comp pics year round and give off this perception that they're always like that when they're not. You know, or there's, you know, drug use involved that people think they can do naturally, and there's a lot of
photoshopping now too, apparently.
There's a lot of people that just don't realize that Instagram's still a facade and like the highlight reel of people's lives. And
no one's going to take a photo of them sitting down with like their hips crunched over their jeans, right? But even somebody who's really lean, when they sit down, has some lines in their stomach, but they're not going to put those photos up. So people are comparing themselves against someone else's highlight reel, and it's just not a fair comparison.
How do you manage?
Really big on, sorry?
I was going to say, how do you manage that with someone in a prep? How, like, obviously it's a conversation, but you know, our phones are always there. Instagram's always there. How do you manage that for someone going, hey, look, that's not them year round?
My main demographic is men. Fortunately for men, it's culturally acceptable for us to get a little bit pudgy and be larger. and be congratulated on it.
Yeah.
But a lot of the girls don't have that reality where they can afford to put on a bit of body fat and be celebrated.
Yep.
There's a lot more pressure on the females to obtain this physique that is not sustainable and arguably far more detrimental to their health than the men that are staying a little bit leaner too.
Yep.
So like, thankfully for me, like I don't have a lot of difficulty in managing people's body image issues, because most guys are like, cool, I competed this year at 85 kilos. Next year, I want to be 90 kilos. What do I need to do? A plus B equals C. Let's go straight to A and let's get this shit done, right?
Yeah, right.
Whereas a lot of the girls, it's definitely far more difficult, because I think there's a lot more social pressure for them to maintain that physique, even if it's just internalized pressure that they think exists. It still exists, so it's still a reality.
I think we can extend this past comp preppers though, because even my Gen Pop clients still compare themselves to social media, or they're trying to put on muscle, and so weight gain is part of that process, and they compare themselves to their leanest. So I think this goes past comp prep, and something that every coach should be managing. And the solutions would be dependent on, the individual hurdles the person's facing. We have a bunch of different tools that we use. So one of them is an exercise from cognitive behavioral therapy called Unhooking. Have you heard of it before?
Yep.
Yeah. So you unhook yourself from a thought. So it could be you wake up in the morning and you feel really pudgy, and you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, I'm so fat. But unhooking would be, I had a thought that I was fat. And you separate yourself from your thoughts, because you are not your thoughts. Your thoughts are fleeting. We think things that are untrue all the time. Another thing could be asking the boys and the girls to unfollow people that are just kind of toxic for their mind and are putting up those comp prep photos year round and pretending like that's them. Because if it's in your face all the time, you're then building a new standard that's unrealistic. So my news feed is full of really strong girls and dogs and food and, the occasional shredded cheek, but that's totally fine, because it's the occasional one, and I'm pretty good at unhooking and not having unrealistic standards. But how hard is it to have realistic standards if all you see all day is picture perfect highlights? Unrealistic standards.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult. I mean, this is like in a contest prep, you're constantly going back and forth with feeling kind of impressed with yourself and then equally just as disappointed, and that can change within a matter of hours. Because we're big on education, like a lot of it is centered around, at least in my discussion with clients, on like, what is the purpose of this current intervention that we're putting in place? What is necessary? What should we expect? And then moving through it and trying to like really pull away the subjective like emotion and become more and more objective with the data, so that at least they can say, oh, hang on a minute, I don't look as good at nighttime because I've got a full belly, I've been walking around all day and all the rest of it,
Do you find that it's a conversation that becomes so much harder when things like performance enhancing drugs are involved?
Yeah, especially with dudes, because like you've only just got to look at why a male takes drugs. They do it because they want to be larger than they can be naturally. Which means they already have a standard that's above the expectation of a normal person. Excuse me. Unfortunately, a lot of guys are also taking those drugs far too early, whereby they haven't built the requisite foundations to build upon. So now they're reliant on those drugs, and those drugs become a crux to their personality. I am Dean and I take drugs.
Or I'm Dean and I'm exceptionally large.
And they really, really, really struggle to get smaller. It's like if you ever go to a natural bodybuilding show versus an enhanced bodybuilding show, a natural bodybuilding show will be filled with lots and lots of individuals who get extremely conditioned, because as a natural bodybuilder, like outside of genetically being larger, your one goal is just to get as lean as you possibly can so that you can be leaner than the person next to you. It's not a size game. Whereas you go to an enhanced one and there's lots of guys that are out of shape. And they're out of shape by the standard of the naturals because they take drugs to be bigger and they're scared to be smaller. So they never, ever, ever diet hard enough to get lean because they fear getting small.
This is kind of like a bit of a cycle though, because I don't know about you guys, but if I ever go through stages where, I've just done a cut and I'm looking really good or whatever, I get way more compliments. I feel like people are expecting me to be in shape, and that's part of my identity. I'm the fit girl, the lean girl, whatever. If I want to go on a holiday or want to go through a bulking phase and lose some definition, it can feel like, for the less emotionally mature person, like, I don't know, you're letting other people down, or who am I if I'm not looking fit all the time?
I'll agree with that. And then from the opposite side, like I know in the past when I've taken performance enhancing drugs, I get bigger. People are like, oh my God, you're jacked. You're so much stronger. And then you stop taking those performance enhancing drugs. And obviously there's some mass or like, I had that bowel infection. So I got sick. And like all of a sudden you're like, I just lost my identity.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait, I'm not.
Who you are.
Sorry?
Comes who you are.
Yeah, and you believe in that. And if you get told often enough that, oh, you look so lean, you're going to believe it.
You know, the thing is too, is that most people don't come up to you and say like, oh, hey, how are you? They go, oh, what happened?
Yeah, fuck. You're looking a bit small.
That was just a quick story about that. That was fucking hilarious. I had just before Nationals 2019, I think you actually were working with Casey Pawson at the time, and I got a fucking hectic bowel infection. Like I was in hospital. I lost 11 kilos in 8 days.
Whoa.
It was really bad. And then a week later, I was in Adelaide at Nationals, and like everyone, the exact same thing. Like, what the fuck happened? And I'm like, I'm just gonna put my jumper back on.
Yeah. And another t-shirt.
And another t-shirt. And excuse me while I go eat at the buffet.
What an interesting sport. Like in no other world would somebody walk into, I don't know, a corporate office and people so freely comment on other people's bodies. But it seems to be so okay in powerlifting, bodybuilding. And I guess when you're a bodybuilding competitor, you're asking people to criticize your body because you're standing there literally to be judged. There's a panel of judges judging your body. And
they're not judging what you have that's good either. They're typically looking for what is a flaw.
Your weak links.
So you're reminded of what your flaws are. You're not told what your strengths are. It's fucked up.
So no wonder people have this like intense preoccupation with their physique, and then they struggle going through proper off seasons because they don't want to lose their conditioning or look fat, and they're really stomping on their results for following competitions.
Yeah, like to draw a parallel for powerlifting, it's kind of like, you've got ex-competitor who's got an enormous deadlift and a really good squat. And they're like, yeah, but how shit's your bench?
Yeah, that's all you look at.
Like we all know it's shit. That's why I'm working on it. Just but why do we have to focus on the negative all the time? That's an Australian thing.
Do you think so?
Yeah, Australia is very tall poppy-ish and wants to bring you down a peg. We don't celebrate our athletes in a manner that props them up, but rather we try to keep them level-headed, is what we would say.
I agree with that.
Whereas
America glorifies their athletes, and I feel like we really do. Like if I follow a lot of the NRL, and as soon as someone goes out on the town and has one incident, it's like they're a shit human.
Like how dare you have fun, motherfucker?
Exactly.
You're a role model. Like, yeah, I do less drugs than your dad does.
So complicated question. Yeah, that's true. I never know how I feel about, let's say like a footy player goes out on the town and is accused of rape, for example. Do you think that their behavior off the field should affect their job as a footy player?
Oh, it's a tricky one.
That's a really good question, and
I don't have the answer, by the way. I'm not like trying to trip you.
It's ironic because I got given Cameron Smith's autobiography for Christmas, and like I'm not a big physical reader, but I love NRL. I finished the book in 3 days. It's like I just couldn't put it down. And then I went on this string and this run of just reading NRL biographies. I do the same thing with everything. I listen to Matthew McConaughey's audiobook, and now I'm just watching all his movies. But Jonathan Thurston's autobiography talks about the Bulldogs rape incident, and he's like the first one to come out and acknowledge it. And it's just so interesting to see how, their version of the story of how things happen, how play out, compared to how the media really blows these situations out. I don't want to say out of proportion because, again, there was a person at the center of this incident that was hurt in some way. But it's just interesting to see how it is taken that their off-field antics determine how they are on the field. Yet we don't look at, like, I believe in the States, and athletes just looked at for what they do on the basketball court or on the field. They're not looked at, this.
I think the challenge for them is that they're a public figure.
That's the thing as well.
They're sponsored by people who give them money so they can perform at a high level, and those sponsors have their standards that they want to have met. And if they would expect.
That's the thing. As soon as you throw out
to do that, I think if you don't want to be a public figure, then you've chosen.
Well, that's the responsibility that comes with being that sort of level in any sport. Like, unfortunately, there is
people will look up to you.
Yeah, an unspoken responsibility that, oh, cool, you're an elite level lifter or fucking NRL footy player or fucking ballet. You're looked at in this different light.
Yeah.
And perhaps if you're not prepared for that, then you maybe need to consider something else.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think like they have to recognize that they have a role in society that is different from people,
because they're very influential.
Because they are influential, they are also in the public eye, and a lot of the money that they get is generated through sponsors that don't want to be associated with poor behavior. But I also think they're over scrutinized for the most part on small misdemeanors that are otherwise fairly normal. Like, just a drug thing. Like, if some dude does some cocaine on the weekend and gets in trouble, like, look, he's the same as everybody else in this world, and it probably shouldn't affect them. But I think that probably just comes down to, honestly, like a lack of education in our public space around even just the frequency of use of those things. And like, put the really negatives, like the rapes and the bashings and domestic violence, all of those go in the basket of, you did that shit too bad, you lose your job. Because you go to jail for that in normal life, But the other stuff, I think they're definitely over scrutinized.
100%. Like, I don't know if you guys follow NRL much at all, but like Cameron Munster, after that State of Origin, he was fucking on cocaine straight away on a 3-day bender in Byron. And there is no way in hell that he wasn't.
Allegedly.
But also, I'm like, good on him. Fuck, you just spent X amount of weeks in isolation because of COVID. You just won a premiership. You just won a fucking State of Origin shield. Like, you deserve to blow off some steam. Like, you've been like, have your private time, go get fucked up. I don't give a shit. Just come back and play really good the next season. That's your job.
They get a camera from like a kilometer away with a dude doing a streaking through a private home and then call him a bad guy. It's like, hang on a minute.
He was in a private home.
You're the one that's bad here. You're spying on people. You're free.
Just let the man run naked around his yard.
Yeah, I actually started my strength and conditioning career at I shouldn't say career. I did my prac hours for my exercise science degree at the Broncos.
Really?
Yeah.
Just want to jump in there. I thought you were about to say I started my streaking career. And I'm like, okay, here we go.
Who was head coach?
I've never streaked.
Maybe the next career move that you make could be that.
Never streaked. No.
You should, though.
I mean, I pretty much streak when I'm on stage. Like, I'm not
never
wearing
streaked. Yeah, right.
No, I've never streaked.
He's got a great butt. You'd make a good streaker.
Yeah, let's get a streak on, bro. 100%. Who was coaching at the Broncos when you were there?
Bennett had just recently left. I can't even remember. I think it may have been I can't even remember his name. But at the time, Dan Baker was still there. He was still the head strength coach.
He was a beast.
And then Dean Benton was the exercise science guy who then looked after Andrew Kroll and another guy. And then I was the only student there.
Was Chris Haseman still hanging around then? He was the wrestling coach.
Yes. Yeah. He MMA guy. He was at Fit College, right?
Yeah. So we had him on recently on the podcast talking about all his like UFC back when it like wasn't in UFC. But
he was still wrestling coach there too. Yeah.
See, what was it like going through the Broncos as a student, bro?
Unreal. Like, I think at the time they were one of the few clubs that had legitimate money to put into that. They even had like a full-time nutrition consultants, but from a secondary company.
Yep.
Some terrible advice, might I add, though. Fuck, it was bad, dude.
So this is what encouraged. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, what was the worst piece of advice you saw given out for food nutrition there?
So they were sponsored by Masashi, and all the boys post-training would have a protein shake of some description.
Yep.
And it was like, if you're in the Chub Club, which were guys who were too fat for preseason,
Club.
They had to do extra swimming on the weekends, of which some of them would honestly just sleep at fucking Roma Street after being on the piss and then rock up to swimming because you could smell it on them. Like, good on you, really taking this seriously. But the Chub Club guys weren't allowed to put creatine in their shakes.
Great industry. Claps for that.
But I'm like there as a student going, this is wrong. Like, but I can't say anything because who am I to say? But it was phenomenal. I actually nearly picked up a gig doing rugby programming for TSS on the Gold Coast with Dean Benton.
Yeah, right.
He didn't get the job because I think he asked for too much money. And then it ended up just moving into the nutrition space. So it was just one of those things I just diverged at a different time.
Yep.
I think watching such terrible advice, though, helps us sharpen our skills as a coach.
Oh, yeah.
Because generally speaking, there is this like cookie cutter approach of like, this is the best way to follow something. And if you can't follow it, like that's on you. But I think the role of a coach is not only to know enough about nutrition and biomechanics, if you're a strength coach, but also behavior change and identify the client's individual hurdles and help them work through that.
Yeah, that's probably been the biggest game changer for us, is taking a step out of the physiology and all of the sciencey stuff of like, how do you lose fat? How do you become stronger? How do you recover better? All that stuff. And look further into the psychology of like, how do we actually make people do this consistently over time?
Like,
you know?
Eat less, move more. Like that's pretty fucking simple. And then there's
Most
some
people know it
details
too.
within that, but like getting that done is hard.
Yeah. So getting the human to do it.
Yeah, like, like Brandon, I know you are a fan of Broderick Chavez, and he has post-it note nutrition, right?
Sorry?
And like, he has post-it note nutrition, his ebook.
Yeah.
He just writes things on post-it notes and has made
Yeah.
And like, arguably, that's all correct. There's no question. It is that simple, but it doesn't work. That simple.
And like, I feel like in that case, like Broderick's, he's a different breed of human. Like, there's just some people that will, and like I look at Broderick the same kind of light I look at like your Will Crozier or your Luke Polly. Like they just do it, and they can just do it. And then going back to our previous conversation, they see them on Instagram, like, oh, I'll just do this, but it's like, you're not them.
No.
And I would even put Broderick in his own class, because that guy is just his own entity as a human and lives in his own world. Like he is very much a 1% of the 1%.
I believe that like Will and Broderick and people who just get it done, the thing that they lack, which works in their favor, is apathy. And for people listening that don't know what apathy is, it's when you want two things at the same time. So if Will was a different human, he might want to get bigger, but also wants to just eat to appetite and not have to eat to the point where he's overfull all the time. But Will just gets it done because he's so focused and he's not apathetic. And same with Broderick, he just like gets it done because he knows what he wants and he knows the consequences that need to be paid in order to get there.
That's why he consults as well as opposed to coaching too, because it's like, you come to me, I'll provide the framework, you implement the framework, you repeat that, we do it again. Whereas in the coaching space, it's more about getting to know the person and figuring out like, what are their triggers? What are their good? What can we lean on? What do we have to steer away from emotionally? And then you're taking all of these like principal understandings of the foundations of nutrition and all that sort of shit, and you're going, cool, I'm going to plug and play this particular approach with this particular person, still under the same fundamental concept, but then the next person gets a slightly different plug and play.
Yeah, I always find it funny when someone asks me, "Oh, you're a nutrition coach, so like."
What's the best diet?
Like what protocols do you use with your clients? Are you like a macro coach?
Yeah.
Like, okay, so calculating macronutrients takes about 5 seconds. And yes, that is like a portion of what I do, but we don't have like one approach, one protocol. It depends. Like, what are your problems? And we'll work with that.
Yeah.
And that's why, as you said before, like coaching just becomes more personalized and needs to be. Like if you can understand someone's triggers, as you said, Dean, like, fuck, that's half the battle.
And then imagine with diet, like everyone's individual, what they can and can't eat, what they like to eat, not to eat, and the time frames they have to do it. Like it's so different for everyone. You need to work with, right?
Yeah, but it's annoying because that's so the case. But people are just like, we don't write once-off diets because people's needs change over time. You can't just follow the same thing forever. But also you're not learning anything if I'm like, here's a diet, like just follow this. Like, what are you learning from that? What are you going to do on Christmas, birthday, when you don't feel like eating that, when you run out of that in your fridge? Which is why we spend so much time teaching people frameworks and principles, and then they can adapt that based on their changing needs.
But people don't do it because this shit takes time, man.
Yeah, and energy.
Like a lot of time, a lot of energy you pour into a single individual, which is obviously restrictive to a point of how many people you can help at once. And a lot of people are more interested in the coaching space to make more money than they are to have a bigger impact.
Look, we're not the best business people,
no,
but we're good coaches because we cap ourselves on how many clients we take on each, because we know that if we go over that cap, we don't have enough time and energy to give to each individual person. One thing we have done though to save time is template worksheets and learning exercises. So if somebody does brush up against, I don't know, poor sleep hygiene, which is affecting their energy and their mood and their strength, we're like, hey, here's a worksheet, go over it, answer these questions, and we'll jump in a call and talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not talking through each individual person, each individual thing every time.
Yeah, same like the unhooking process.
Yeah, the unhooking is another worksheet. Yeah.
But we need to come up with a better name because worksheets make people a little bit apprehensive.
Homework.
They used to be called learning exercises.
Homework just gives me fucking anxiety. Fuck that. Just takes me back.
And are these processes and protocols things you guys have changed and learned and adapted over the last 6 or 7 years as well?
Oh, yeah, totally. At first, the education portion of our coaching was way more, what's the word I'm looking for? Like we would teach one person everything from 1 to 10. It wasn't kind of in worksheets.
Not as malleable, yeah.
Yeah, and we keep adding to it, but also finding simpler ways to explain complicated concepts.
Yeah.
And I think we've also honed in on the things that are quick and easy for people to understand and the things that people usually trip up on, and we'll spend a bit more time focusing on those things.
Yeah, and like more so like things we think everybody needs to foundationally understand. Yeah. And then there's things that would be maybe beneficial to an individual if they have X, Y, and Z problem or characteristic about them, you know.
But yeah, our education portion of our coaching is always evolving.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like even
if I think about it, like my contest prep dieting concept is somewhat similar to 6 years ago. You know, like the basic, the raw sort of foundations of it are the same, but how I apply them, how I talk about them, and how I have clients implement them are very different depending on the person each year.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I guess I equate that to how we look at, like, if I look back at a program I wrote 6 months ago and I feel like if I don't look at it and go, that was shit, I know I haven't upskilled enough or grown or educated myself is probably a better word.
I really like that thing you're doing with the education too. Like I know one of the things I love is when a client comes to me with an idea. They go, oh, maybe we should try this in the program. What do you think? You know, this isn't quite working. Let's do this. And you're like, fuck yes. This is brilliant. Like you're starting to free think, and that means we're kind of doing the right thing by them starting to be able to understand and know their own purpose.
Because you guys got a lot of educational stuff, like through your website or your articles, even like, I'm pretty sure you guys have a recipe pages up there. And
we used to have one online, but now Liz is doing an actual ebook concept that we have as well.
So I'm writing a book right now that one of the components is recipes.
Yeah.
Most of them are high protein, and that means different things to different people, and the book goes through that. But it's about hunger management, cravings management, because I think a lot of people are stuck between, I want to lose weight, so that means poached chicken and broccoli, and now I'm off a diet, so that means pizza. But I really want to help people. What was that?
There's a middle ground?
Oh, can you believe it? I know. So I want to help people move away from the all or nothing mindset. And this book should help people find that middle ground, enjoy food ongoing, while still understanding how to keep a calorie controlled diet.
Yeah. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I think that's unreal. I think you definitely do see a huge mindset around it. It's this all-in approach diet. Even general pop to get down to my body weight. I hit my body weight or whatever the goal was, X, Y, Z, and then I'm straight back to pizza.
But like,
you probably find that with powerlifters too, right? Like they're and they're like hard in training every day, probably overtraining, and then they're off training.
100%, literally. And even in the, I think in like, obviously as powerlifters we don't diet as hard as any bodybuilding competitor, but I think it ties in with the overtraining factors that they'll just go straight to, talk from personal experience here, they're just going to go straight to fucking Get a Burger. Like, Get a Burger is my favorite at the moment. So I'm, just let everyone know on the podcast, Get a Burger if you want to buy me lunch.
Yeah.
Is that a name of a burger joint?
Have you not been to...
sound like you're saying I'm going to get a burger.
Yeah, like it's a burger joint. Have you not had Get a Burger?
That wouldn't be on the coast.
I thought it would be. It's everywhere here.
There's only 2 or 3.
Is it?
Yeah.
I think I've heard of it, but it's definitely not on the coast.
I would Google it if I knew where my phone was right now. But
Oh, wow.
It is a
Okay.
tasty burger.
Well, whenever you're down next, we'll go to Get a Burger.
Up next.
Yes, you're down the coast.
I say down for everything. I'm going down to Cairns.
Well, you could.
Actually, I would definitely say up for Cairns, but I always say I tend to say down, I think, as opposed to up. I don't think of it geographically.
Idiot.
even though I'm aware geographically of where I am. That's a shit movie too.
No, it's not.
What
You
movie?
guys know what movie that's from? Idiot.
No, what movie?
Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I don't like that movie. I'm with Dean. I didn't rate it. I'm sorry.
Is it? Do you not like how funny it is? Or
Ouch.
what is it that you don't like?
I just didn't get around to his character. Like it was just annoying.
I agree.
I know, that's why it's so
I
funny.
want to punch him in the face.
Yeah.
Now that would be funny.
That would be.
Well, like, because when did that
It's
come
such a
out?
quotable movie. I'm gonna
Lasting
say
Fury.
Long time ago.
2008. I might be way off. Probably
I reckon
yes.
before that.
I'm just not
It
even
was-
playing humor.
It was 2004. And like, I mean, you had other movies like Anchorman come out around that time.
Like good movies, yeah?
Good movies.
Yes.
I also love Anchorman.
Yeah.
World's
See,
most quotable movie.
100%. It was still one of like even number 2 it wasn't as good, but it was still funny.
It was a giggle.
Like when Steve Carell.
Funny, I just think that Man's iconic.
Okay, favorite line or scene from Anchorman number 2?
Don't ask me.
Go. I know you.
Oh, fucking from when Steve Carell does his own eulogy. I was in tears. I was in fucking tears. Or when they're in the camper van and he's like, it's on cruise control.
It
And
hits
then, like,
slow-mo.
Yeah. And he gets hit with the bowling ball in the face in the slow-mo.
But then at the end of that, though, they're standing on the side of the road and none of them have any injuries.
I love it when he's in the lighthouse. He's like, I can't hear you. I'm blind. What? This isn't how the senses work. That's so good.
It was one of the, that was, I don't even know how we got there. Oh, Napoleon Dynamite, that terrible movie.
But I'm curious for you guys, what's it like working together? Obviously, you guys have been together before it all started.
Over there, it's all right. No.
We share.
Yeah. Is there rules? Do we have rules in place? How
Yeah.
does it all work for you guys?
You want to take this one?
No, go for it.
So
This is how the business works.
Great. We have learnt a lot over the years of working together, and for the last, I'd say, 2 years, it's quite seamless how we work together. And we've learnt by fire and learnt by trial and error. So now we share an office, but we don't talk all day. Like pretty much at the end of the day, like, how was your day? Fine. How was it? Whatever. If I have a question to ask him, even though I'm sitting next to him, I'll usually email him.
Yep.
Because, and he'll do the same with me, because one of us is usually like, shoulder deep in someone's data, and we just don't want to interrupt thoughts.
Also, I'm a bit on the spectrum when it comes to me needing to hone in on my work. And like, once I'm in the groove, I don't like it to be broken. So like, whereas Liz can do multiple things at once, I'm like a one-in guy,
Yeah.
Even to the point where if I listen to music, it has to have no lyrics, because I'm
Hey,
like,
that's me.
if I can get that out of my head.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
So Liz used to have to go, hey, Dean, can I ask you a question now? And I'm like, 5 minutes. And then she would come back to me 5 minutes later. Or I would say, I'm ready now. Whereas initially she might be like, hey, can you do this? I'd be like, fuck. Like,
Yeah.
But
emailing works really well for the both of us, because we can mark emails as unread if it's not a task we've completed yet, or like CC someone else in, like our assistant or something like that.
Yep.
So we have a system now where basically we don't talk to each other during the day, and that system seems to work best. And we communicate on various platforms like email or Slack. Do you guys use Slack ever?
I've heard of Slack. I don't use it.
Yeah.
It's like Monday.com, I think.
Yeah, there's a heap of them.
I don't know. Anyways,
But a couple of things we do is like, we typically have certain days dedicated to clients, some dedicated to work, and other things. So like Wednesdays and Thursdays are usually for like things like this, or, changing worksheets, or like working on stuff within the business together. Whereas Monday, Tuesdays, and Fridays are definitely client days, so try not to do the other stuff. I would try and we have an office specifically dedicated to work. We don't do work anywhere else in the house. So like when it's shut off, it's sort of like the light goes off, and then our home becomes our home downstairs, as opposed to the office is upstairs. And then even just a simple one, we've done this the whole time, which is on Thursdays, we always cut the day off at halfway and go out and hang out together and do non-work related shit. So we have a date day, just to make sure that we don't just constantly work as colleagues.
Do you find it hard to not talk about work outside of the office when you've moved out of it?
Like, for sure, there's moments, but we usually, what I found lately is that we used to have a bit of a hard rule where we'd say, hey, let's not talk about work. but now it's a little bit more like fluid, I suppose you could say.
Yep.
But what I wouldn't say is that we cut it off fairly quickly.
Yep.
So it might be like, I'll bring something up about work, Liz will answer it, and then we just move on to the next thing.
But we do have structured times where we do talk about work-related things. Like we moved our coach meetings to Fridays now. So all the coaches get together on a call. And if I have I'm having trouble with a client and I can't quite figure out how to X, Y, and Z, I'll talk about it in that call. Or if I have this idea for how to improve a worksheet or whatever, I'll bring it up then. So there are structured times where we talk about work and I usually get it all out there.
Mm-hmm.
But occasionally an idea will pop into my mind on a Thursday date day in the afternoon. And either I'll bring it up or I'll just take a note and email him about it later or something. But I think one thing that has always worked well for us is even though we might have different ideas on how to attack a particular project or whatever.
Or person.
We have the same values.
Yeah.
We always have a client-centric approach. We need to stay afloat, but money is probably the least important thing. So, and if I'm look, I disagree for the following reasons. He was like, I didn't think of that, or he'll convince me of his way. So it's usually pretty amicable conversation and we end up in the same place.
And we also have some fairly defined roles across certain things, I'll do finances for one part. She'll do this part for the other part. If there's anything that's techie for Google Sheets and shit, that's my job.
Anything creative is my job.
Anything creative is her job. So we have differentiated where our strengths and weaknesses are, so that we aren't. So I'm not sitting here trying to be creative, and I'm just punching my computer.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever worked with a partner before?
An ex, we tooled around with a few things and butted heads and made a decision to never do that again.
That's a really good question. No,
but
I will. I'm very independent in most things. Even in a relationship sense, it's been pretty fucking rough. So I don't think inviting them into the business would be hey, do this for me.
But I absolutely love what you guys do. I trained a couple of clients who work together with their partners as well. And the story is very similar. They have their workspace set up, work time is work time. And then they shut the door, they leave it there. It's really good, I think.
Yeah, I wish I could, but as Dean said before, I think I'm on the spectrum, just a different spectrum. So
Brandon spectrum.
Yeah, I just live. This is my zone. You do your thing.
Yeah,
we have had problems over the years, though. It hasn't always been smooth. There was a time where I feel I was at the end of my tether, and I was it's flex or the relationship. So we're just at a place now where we're good because we've learned from our mistakes.
I think again, like Liz said, we have the same values too. So we've always, for as long as I can remember, we've always said, once our dog is no longer around, we want to see the world, work off our laptops, work together and do that, and that we don't need a lot of money. We need enough money to facilitate the lifestyle that we want. So let's not push work too many hours, and because of that, we've always sort of just find back into our center point. We're what's the end goal? This is the end goal. Cool. Are we still aligned to that? Whereas I might be oh man, this client's really good. I'll take them on. Oh, this one's also good. I'll take them on. And Liz will be do you need to though? I'm no, fuck. All right. I won't take any more people on,
I think staying aligned with our values is also the reason why we're totally independent, because we've got people approach Flex all the time that are hey, why don't you promote this supplement or this clothing brand or this meal prep company? And we would take that on if our values were money, because we get kickbacks with discount codes and whatever. But we always reject it because we don't want to have to censor what we say is crap or good. Or just people see enough advertisements in the day. We have a limited time to help someone or teach someone or guide someone, and we don't want to spend that time giving them discount codes for activewear. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
So,
but having a strong.
But I won't.
What was that?
I'd like to, but I won't.
It's, I see the temptation for lots of people if they haven't clearly outlined where they want to go.
Yeah.
Because it is kind of seductive, because you get free activewear, you get free supplements, you get to join this team or tribe or whatever they call it.
Maybe
and everyone wants to be part of a team.
Yeah.
But I want to build something bigger than discount codes and cheap activewear.
But that comes back to just having a solid value system. Once you have that, then you can build off that. And you guys, I do believe it also takes a level of self-awareness, obviously, and to keep coming back to that values. Otherwise, those discount codes become super enticing.
Yeah.
As I said, like it'd be nice. Like if I could bankroll 10 grand a month on fucking referral cards and then only have to work with 15 clients and just live the life I want, that'd be nice. But I would hate to think that then every time that I recommend something to something, they're second guessing my opinion, because that's the last thing that I want. Like I've always been somebody who's tried to stay as central as I can in regards to my opinion, so that when I give it, the person can look at it and go, yeah, look, I agree or I disagree, because I don't like the opinion, not because I don't trust the opinion. And that was even the case when I worked at NW, you know, like it was always like, let me provide you some information, then you can make the choice that's the best for you. And I learned very quickly there is that clients return, or in that case, customers, because they like you, the person, and they can trust you, the person, and they respect you, the person, not necessarily the product that they get. And we've always, like Liz said, just been client-centric for that very reason. And that's why we'll never, ever sell out things like that, because it takes away that leverage that you have of trust.
Occasionally, like, what was it? We promoted Broderick's seminar, which was at your gym, I believe. Because we think that he has great information. And I remember like Jordan Shallows, the muscle doc, we sometimes promote his stuff when he comes to Australia. We get no kickbacks for it whatsoever. We just think that they have great information. So it's not that we won't promote anyone. We just don't receive kickbacks for it, because
unless it's like a specific seminar, obviously.
Oh, unless like we're hosting something. Yeah.
It just, I mean, you guys have got a strong integrity pretty much, which is incredible. I always joke, I think I could make way more money if I didn't have a strong integrity.
I could make way more money on OnlyFans.
Right, like that is, man, most people that are worth a lot of money haven't got a lot of money because they're nice people. Like really, who like somebody has to stomp on somebody to get up to the top of the fucking mountain, you know? And it's very rare you'll see somebody who's making bank that haven't stood on a bunch of people.
Steffi Cohen recently spoke about this, where she knows that when boys and girls put up nudes or sexy photos, they get way more attention, way more likes, and we know likes can convert to sales or whatever. And I really respect Steffi as an athlete and a woman, but I just thought that some of her photos recently are leaning towards being a bit more sexual, and she's mentioned that she wants to even the playing field. So, and that's something that I'm bumping up against. Like, I'm doing a photo shoot in 3 weeks from now, and I will refuse to do anything that closely resembles pornography, but I'm happy wearing shorts and a sports bra, so long as I'm still presented professionally or with like a strong undertone, not a sexy undertone.
Yeah, not like bent over and like, check out my shoes.
Yeah, like you can wear the same things and send a different message.
Yeah.
You don't need to take a photo of my dumbbell bent over row from my butt crack. Like that's just so unnecessary.
Yeah.
But I see that as another form of selling out. Like I'm trying
absolutely.
I'm trying to give you knowledge and information and skills, not sex. There's enough of that out there.
Yeah, it's super unfortunate, because like even for me, man, like the moment I do a comp, my opinion has more weight, which pisses me off, but I also have to leverage that a little bit. You know, the moment I put up a picture of me, I get far more interaction, because there's this, ooh, what's he doing? But if I put up a picture of somebody else with the exact same piece of information, it changes. So like we do unfortunately live in a social world whereby you do require to sell a little bit of stuff from a visual perspective, but I still think, like Liz said, it can be done with tact.
100%. And I think the intention in which you do it will govern a lot of what you're trying to do. Like if your intention is to leave the industry in a better place, your decision-making process off that's going to be a lot better than if it's just, I need to make a quick buck.
Which is good. And you guys are setting an example. So, you know, like you said, trying to bring the industry up with you. You'd like to see, hopefully, more people see what you guys do and look at you guys and the success you're having and think, fuck, maybe I don't need to send butt photos on Instagram. I can do it a bit differently.
I still do butt photos.
Oh, but that's my private butt photos.
Yeah, right. What do you mean? I'm not allowed to send them?
No, I still want those.
Yeah. Okay. Now, guys, before we finish up,
are you ready?
We have the 10 most important questions you'll ever be asked in your life. Now, they are rapid fire. So first thing that comes to your head, which I'm really excited about after our 21 words.
Who's going first?
Well, I reckon we ask the question, and then we'll let Dean go first this time, then Lizzy.
Are you ready? Dean.
I'm ready.
Lizzy, what makes you unique?
Unique? Fuck.
Nice rapid fire.
Really looking forward to it. Going to have a lot of information. I've got no idea. What makes me unique? Answer for me.
Okay, what makes Dean unique? You're not a very unique guy, Dean.
Oh, snap.
All right. Maybe that he's so hard to offend because he's so secure in who he is as a person.
That is true.
Ooh,
Actually,
What did I call you last night? A limp
Hot.
dick fuck or something?
Yeah, you did call me a limp dick fuck.
Yeah. So like
So now let's tell this story, right?
yes, please.
9 times out of 10, I'm ready to go. So some guys complain of having an erection problem. I have a too many erection problem, right? the joys of doing what we do. And then Liz just randomly just grabs me on the fucking dick and goes, too bad, I was ready. And I was like, get the fuck out. Like, give me 10 seconds and I'll be ready.
I'm like, oh, you limp dick fuck.
And then she just called me a limp dick fuck and ran off.
So no insult is too insulting because he's so secure in who he is.
I love
So
that
think that's what
though.
makes you unique.
I also love the fact when you're like, what did you call me last night? And you're just like, hot. And then it's like, no, limp dick fuck. Oh, this is fucking the best.
Oh, dear.
Sorry, that wasn't very rapid though, was it?
It was very, but what it was very good.
Yeah. Lizzy,
What makes you unique? What makes you unique?
That's the best.
Perhaps, Dean, you're going to have to come up with this.
Yeah, what makes me unique, Dean?
Her willingness to talk to anyone and do anything without fear of being judged.
Okay. Hence the
Love
donut
it.
shirt. Hey, do you know what I got the other day in line with that?
Yes!
For those who are obviously listening and
Is
not
that real?
watching, that's a mustache tattoo on the
Legit,
finger.
yeah.
I got it a few weeks ago.
That is
Amazing.
exceptional.
Yeah, so my friend,
Hey,
shout out to Talitha. No, it's good story. She, we were just joking about the finger tattoos that you get because it's ridiculous. And the reason she wanted to get it, I quote, you get to an age where you realize everyone is an idiot and so are you. So she just thinks getting a mustache tattoo on her finger is like, don't take life so seriously.
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck it, let's do it. And then we got there and Talitha had decided what style of mustache she wanted tattooed on. I was like, yeah, just give me whatever she has. Because it's really not that much of a big deal and people should stop taking trivial decisions so seriously.
She's saying that to me. I'm the one that's like, oh, I don't know.
You've got to think about it a lot more before you get one.
65 times plus one small, if I remember.
All right. Dean, who are the special people in your life?
Liz, Ruben, and my family.
Lovely.
I love how he says my family so generically. So anyone who's listening, even distant cousins, might think they're
Well, no, my immediate family.
Okay.
Oh, distant
And,
cousins
and,
are
and
out.
a select group of actual, my parents' brothers and sisters.
See, more generic.
So much so that we only invited some of them to our wedding. There you go.
Lizzy, who are the special people?
Definitely my dog, Ruben.
I didn't specify he was a dog.
Did you say Ruben?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
Oh.
he did. I just assumed it was your dog.
Obviously, Dean. And then I would say that I have a lot of people in my life that I value, but I know are fleeting relationships. So I think I hold a pretty tight circle. So it's probably Dean, Ruben, and like 4 other people.
What is something you're most proud of, Dean?
I'm quite proud of actually Flex itself and the reputation that I've generated in the contest prep space.
Yeah, 100%.
Lovely. Lizzy.
I'm proud of being self-aware enough to figure out what my weaknesses are and then always just working on a weakness.
Excellent. Now I'm going to change this question up just a tiny bit, so it'll be aimed at the 2 of you. What movie will both of you star in together, and who will you play?
Whoa.
Oh, if there was a Brooklyn Nine-Nine movie, I reckon we would both be in that.
Yes.
It's hilarious.
Fuck yes.
You would be Boyle because you're so fucking
Fuck
good.
off.
That's the most offensive thing you've ever said. How do we go working together? Liz is fucking done. Boyle.
You would be Boyle.
I'm Terry, mate.
You're not Terry.
I'm fucking him. I can do the titty dance and everything. Woo!
I can do the titty dance. Just have to jump up and down. Yeah, so 9-9 we agree, but the characters it seems we disagree on.
Oh, who actually would be? I'd be Amy Santiago.
No, you wouldn't. You would be Captain Holt.
No, I'm not that boring.
Wait, who would you be, Lizzy?
Rose.
Yeah, I could see a Rosa.
Yeah, I would be Amy. I'm the guy that wants to like have everything in the same order.
Nice. What is your favorite emoji?
Tongue out face.
Lovely.
I do that all the time because I'm trying to remind people that I'm not so serious when I say serious things.
Is that the emoji version of saying no offense? But I'm going to say something.
No, but like, so like, you write something to somebody and you're like, listen here, you fuck. Like, and that's, like in my mind, that's how I'm saying it. But then when you read it, you're like, listen here, you fuck. They're like, Jesus, this dude's really blunt. So I just do the little tongue out.
Just to soften it.
Add a bit of context.
I really like the one where the guy's got like the single eye spectacle on.
Yeah. I do like that.
My favorite emoji.
What was your favorite dinosaur as a kid growing up, Dean?
Oh, I didn't have one.
Me neither.
Not a dinosaur guy.
Zero dinosaurs.
But
That's the first zero dinosaurs.
I mean, the only one I can think of is T-Rex.
Nice dinosaur.
I liked a guinea pig when I was growing up. Does that count?
Yes, it does.
I got him on Easter and named him Easty.
Easty. Now, if you could find out how and when you would die, would you be interested in this information?
No.
Oh, I'm on the fence about this one.
I don't want to know.
I feel like yes, because you can live life to whatever the fullest means for the time that you have left. But if I knew I was going to die in a really tragic, painful way, that would make this part of my life kind of a bit sad.
No, I feel like I would be on a countdown. It would just give me anxiety. I don't want to know.
Yeah.
How old do you feel right now, Dean?
31.
Lovely.
Is that how old
Turning
you actually are?
34, so it's not...
I feel about my age, but maybe not quite that old.
You're 34.
Yeah, I'm 34.
Yeah, right. I thought you were younger.
That's the thing most people do.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because of my looks or...
My body feels... I'm 31. My body probably feels a bit younger. But I feel like my mind feels like 40.
Really?
Yeah.
My joints feel like they're 50, so I feel that.
My joints are at 60. What was your favorite pet growing up, Dean?
That I had or that I wanted?
Oh, either or. I'll take either.
We had a cat and a dog, so clearly the dog.
Yes.
My dog, Susie. Actually, my dog was named after me because I got called Susie when I played soccer because I had a ponytail.
Oh.
And we rescued her, and that's what we called her.
Lovely.
She was a cool dog.
It's very cute.
And you had a guinea
My
pig.
favorite pet was probably my guinea pig, Easty. He always used to escape from his cage.
Ooh.
And we used to run around the backyard trying to catch him before he went under the fence.
Oh,
But then we moved house and my parents decided not to take the guinea pigs with us, but didn't tell us until we arrived at the new house. So I didn't even get to say goodbye.
That's
That's so
ouch.
My heart just broke for you.
It's brutal.
Dang.
It's like the story of my childhood. My parents just being fucking cruel.
It's fucking brutal.
Ouch.
Wow.
Now, what is the best thing that happened to you last week?
Look, a lot has happened since last week. I'm trying to remember back that far. I learnt some really cool escapes in jiu-jitsu,
Ooh, lovely.
which I think are really going to help my game moving forward. And I also didn't get injured,
That's
That's a big win. Yeah.
which is huge in jiu-jitsu.
I live a life of consistency. Nothing really happened last week.
You didn't tear a hamstring trying to do a high jump 2 weeks out of comp.
That is true.
Am I getting this wrong? That's good.
What do you mean?
Do you remember in your last prep, you decided to stupidly test how high you could jump?
I was like 16 weeks out,
Oh,
and
okay.
I supersetted RDLs with box jumps. Box jumps were for fun. This wasn't deliberate. And I got so caught up on the top of it at my feet that I got like posterior pelvic tilt. And then I went and sat to do some biceps and was like, oh fuck, my back's broken. And then I could barely get out of the seat. My disc just went boom.
What sort of bodybuilder tests his jump height?
It's not bad.
What a fool.
Was it a good jump height?
I'm going to say it was like 57 inches.
Ooh, that sounds okay.
Oh, 57 inches.
Centimeters.
I feel
It's far up.
Yeah, I can't remember that. The pads had the numbers on.
Like
but I don't
knee
remember.
height.
I think I tried 61 and that's what did me over.
I don't know.
That is one of the. This is definitely one of the best podcasts we've ever done, which is amazing.
Because of all the poo jokes?
I'm not sure what was my favorite part.
The poo.
The poo was definitely great, but the banter, limp dick fuck is still up there. That was amazing. But we'll do that
Maybe
thing
that
at the
flex success thing's pretty good too.
What thing?
That's an afterthought.
I forgot all about that. That's what we came here to speak about. Where can people find you guys?
Easiest to find us is just Instagram. So just do flex_success.
Slip into
We have a quick links there, which is like a link tree. Gives all the information.
Sick. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time this morning, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure and a bunch of laughs. I can't wait to release this one.
It's a good one.
I look forward to coming onto your second podcast that's all about wee stories and butts.
Yes.
We will make this happen.
We can do a panel.
There will be.
I would love to be on that panel.
A poo panel.
A
I
poo
have
panel.
stories.
Actually, a poo panel sounds like varying smears that you have to run. So I don't know if I'd call it that.
What's the stupid stool chart? The Bristol stool chart.
Yeah.
It just sounds like that's what we're...
That'll
No,
be the intro photo.
Yeah.
Look, I have wee stories on the Inca Trail on a boat in Vietnam. It's really global. So
This is amazing. I cannot wait for this episode.
It'll happen.
Hospital, you got it all.
yeah,
We will tee this up ASAP because I'm so excited now.
I can't wait.
All right,
Don't get
guys.
too excited. Don't go around telling people you're excited about pee and poo, though. Please, Brandon.
Now that you say it out loud like that, I've kind of sat with it, and I'm going to take your advice.
You can tell the pee story about the old man who got paid to pee on an old man too.
Oh, so many stories. I'll write them down.
Okay. Thank you so much, guys. You enjoy the rest of your day. We'll be in touch soon.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Bye.